Stephen.
Was that a drum roll?
Yeah. It's just, yeah. Stephen.
Hey, that's my WWE intro song. Is
Just a drum roll.
yeah,
It'd be a very short intro.
yeah. I think that would make it more memorable. You know?
Yeah, but then like, it would be funny if like after the drum roll instead of like a big, like the big cymbal, it's just like a.
Yeah.
It's just always like a series of like comedy like noises, sound effects. It'll be like a fart one week and like a guy like a puking sound effect the next week, or like a little kitty cat. Meow.
Meow. Yeah, I'm gonna mix that together later and see how it sounds, and maybe that'll be my new intro music.
I like it. I think you should. I think you should seriously consider it.
I'm definitely going to. What was yours? What was your song you like to come out to?
I would I had an intro that my friends custom made,
Okay.
and then my best friend edited a video together that like he made a theme song out of. He like edited this like corn song and took all the curse words out of it.
Okay, smart.
And it's just kind of mixed. It's like Skrillex and corn. And
that's cool.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be lit. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I really liked it, and it went well with the character like that I was doing at the time.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, wrestling doesn't exist for anybody anymore, except for the people who are wrestling in empty arena matches.
I know that shit is wild to watch. It has to be so. It has to be. Maybe disheartening isn't the word, but just for the performers, it's got to be so jarring to now perform without thousands of people screaming at you. Probably feels more like a rehearsal than an actual show now.
Yeah. You know what they recently, and this is funny. I have to put a little timestamp on this. Okay. We're currently in the beginning of June, and and they recently just had like where they just filled the building with some like other roster members, like other roster members who were like aren't on the show that day or something.
Okay.
Extras and stuff. So there is sort of an interactive audience feel to it.
Yeah.
A little.
Okay.
So it's not as awkward. It was so bizarre. I felt like I was intruding watching this. Like I felt like I was watching something private that I shouldn't be watching. Like.
Yeah.
It was just not for me.
I know. Now it sounds like when you do a bar show and the host asks all the comedians to sit in the fucking audience for a little while until the regular audience shows up, pat out the room a little bit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I prefer it the way it is now. I've been saying like right now is the time to really experiment with technology. I mean, not just for wrestling, but for comedy, for concerts, live events, where it's like they do this thing in the WWE now where they can have like a augmented reality sort of like illusions to appear like they're over the audience.
Oh yeah, okay.
So if they could do that to make the augmented reality appear as if there's an audience.
Shit, I'm sorry about that. My cat's fucking up my room.
Who say you got your hands are fucking up your room?
No, my cats. My cats are in the room. They're hanging out in
the
air.
My hands, they're covered in butter. I don't know why I didn't wash my hands, but they're covered in butter. I'm just dropping stuff.
I can't control them. They do their own thing. They're fucking everything up. Now they're scared and they ran under the bed because they made a big noise because they knocked out my fucking. This is my WWE weapon right here, the window guard. This is a fucking chair, dude. This will mess somebody up. This will be fun. But I just installed the AC today, finally, so I'm nice and cool, and they're all curious about the air conditioner, so they're hanging out in the room and fucking everything up as usual. But you have pets?
I don't. No, okay. My roommate has a cat, but he stays in the room.
Right.
And I actually live across the street from my mom, and I just go. My dog needing time. I just go hang out with my mom's dog across the street.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
my other neighbor Steve, he's been my friend since the '90s. He has two really big puppies, and I just play with them all the time. So I don't need to have my own pets. I have neighbor pets.
You have the resources. That's perfect.
I have neighbor pets whose poop I don't have to pick up.
That is perfect, man. I would love to have a dog, but I'm like, I can't fathom having 4 animals. We have 3 cats, so having 4 animals in the apartment would be a lot. And plus, neither of us have steady income right now with this whole fucking quarantine mess. So I'm like, how about we get some steady income before we adopt another mouth to feed?
Yeah, I mean, also like, when you live in an apartment in New York, then you have to walk a dog, and you have to. There's a whole like. It's such like a thing to put yourself and the animal through, as far as like, you can't run free or anything. Like, you only have to go out when I let you out, and you have to stay under control.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to train a dog. I'm sure it's hard. I've never done it, but it's hard. I'm sure it's hard to probably train a dog to not bark at every single thing and every single person, every single car, or try to run and tug. Like, it's got to be. My sister lives in Brooklyn, and her boyfriend was telling me that their dog barks at anything and everything because he's from here. He's from Philly, and they lived in a duplex. Right. So they didn't have all the people and all the distractions. And now when they try to walk the dog, he's going nuts over everything, and especially the other dogs. I'm like, I can't even imagine going through that.
I know. You got to train them real young, dude. That's the trick. You got to train them when they're really little, so when they're big, they're not a problem, you know? Because if they're big, then they have learned behaviors, and they're annoying. I got a buddy. I love running with my buddy Rob because he's got a German Shepherd named Maya, and she's great because she's not super well trained, but like she will pull you along if you hold her on the leash and you're running. She literally like pulls you because she's got so much energy because she's in the apartment all day. So it's like having a little boost on your run when you feel tired. It's like having that little Mario star or whatever pulling you along.
Yeah.
Like having energy you didn't think you had. I love running with that dog.
When the pre-workout wears off.
Yeah, exactly. This is like Rob will hold her. I'm like, I need the dog in the second half of the run. That's when I really need the dog.
So I think we have some mutual friends, and what was cool is, I mean, of course we're gonna do a roast battle against each other, and we wanted to kind of get to know each other a little bit. And it's funny because I did one for Marin in New York at some bar, I forget.
Was it a big nice spot, or was this?
No, it was downstairs. It was a basement bar.
Yeah, that would be that's probably Lucky Jack's, I think.
Lucky Jack's, that's the one I was looking for in my head.
Yeah.
I did one there, and I've done some in like the Jersey Philly area, and I did Eli's podcast a couple times.
Nice, I love Eli though.
Yeah, he's a real good friend. I like him a lot.
Yeah, Eli's a cool dude. I got to go on a road trip with him up to I think it was Connecticut or Rhode Island. Actually, one time we were booked on the same show, so we all took a car up there, and that was fun. I've done Lucky Jack's a couple of times. I did it at the stand once or twice. I have yet to win at the stand. That annoys me. But I've done it at Lucky Jack's a bunch of times, and even at what the fuck was it called? Lovecraft. Before they were even at Lucky Jack's, I did a bunch of Lovecraft too. But roasting's weird because it's like, unless you do it like as often as Matt does it, I feel like it's a hard muscle to keep trained, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started agreeing to do it, the thing is, I'm not mean. Like I can't make fun of people, but like I'm a character. I've been this wrestler character for for 19 years. I think I can figure it out.
Yes, exactly.
So it's a good flex for writing, for joke writing.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
favorite part about it.
yeah. It's a really good writing exercise. You know, it gets you a lot of practice, which is good. I really like it just for that reason as well. Also, I like when people say they can't be mean because it's like I've had that problem before where I found my best roast jokes are usually like masked in a compliment. That's what I found works for me. Some people can just be really mean and get away with it. Like Matt Maron's charismatic enough, he can just say
Mhm.
whatever he wants and people will generally like it. But I found mean doesn't necessarily work unless I try to make it sound like I'm about to give them a compliment and then,
Right.
flip it on its head. So you got to find out what works for you.
It's weird because like everything is like, okay, well, sort of got to make fun of. We can all laugh at racist stuff and homophobic stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's not really what I do on the most
No,
part. But
it's a
or
it's a niche thing. It's a
right,
safe place for fucked up thoughts.
right,
That's the whole point of it. I always love, dude. You know why I love roasting? I've always said it's like the only comedy sporting event where it's
uh-huh.
like, especially in the environment that Matt Maron created, particularly in Lovecraft, it was like, yo, you could just fucking scream and hoot and holler. I wanted to paint my face like based on who was roasting and fucking cheer like some crazy football fans because that's how fun it is, man. Like when you hear a joke that really fucking hits hard, it's fun to just lose your mind a little bit, like someone
Yeah.
just scored a game-winning touchdown. That's how hype I get about roasts.
Oh, you know what? I went to another one just to go. I went.
Uh,
It was like Crespo's birthday
mm-hmm.
at Lucky
Might have
Jack's.
been. I can't remember.
Okay, though that was one of the ones I was just there, but
Okay.
that was a lot of fun. That was a lot. That was like my first. Yeah, I'm doing this now. Like it was like, all right,
Yeah.
well, I gotta go check it. I gotta scope it out because I had known Chris and Matt both for a while and like hang out with them at shows and talk about comedy and like writing jokes. Um, I think I roasted Crespo like not. It was just I said something effed up, while we were sitting there at McDonald's or something outside.
Yeah.
Like we went to Skankfest together, and then we went to the McDonald's across the street, and
Nice.
we were just going back and forth. And all right, I'm doing this now.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I got lucky because my first roast I ever did, and this was back when it was at Lovecraft. My first roast I ever did, my opponent actually they forfeited. They just didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I kind of just got to go up and do my jokes to no opponent and get laughs, and it was just like, oh, this is kind of fun, and it kind of gave me the courage to keep on doing it. And then I entered into one of the competitions that Matt put together.
Mm-hmm.
And those really whip you into shape pretty quick because like if you're winning them, dude, sometimes it's like you'll roast like 3 weeks in a row and it's like a different person every week and it really it's labor intensive.
Yeah, I didn't win. I've never won a roast.
I'm
Never won a
about
roast.
I'm about like half and half. I swear to God, I have at least a couple dozen under my belt by now within the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly at Matt Maron's show, but a few at New York Comedy Club and a few other random ones as well. But I'm like half and half. It depends on if I'm having a good night or not. I feel like
Right.
that's what frustrates me about it. I'm like, I got the numbers. Why am I not better at this? I feel like I've been doing this shit for
Putting
years.
the reps in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not getting enough reps in. I used to. My first year doing it, I was doing it a lot, but then I kind of fell off a little bit, and it gets hard. You know what my problem with roast was I was actually I got booked for a few New York Comedy Club roasts, but the problem was I was actually working as a barback at New York Comedy Club at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a bunch of roasts where I would have to work and then also roast and then fucking go back to work. And I hated those roasts because usually if you lose a roast, dude, if you lose a roast, you can go home. But if I lost that roast, I still had to serve people popcorn afterwards, yo. Like, it was stressful as fuck. I was like, I've never been more, like, stressed to win anything in my fucking life than when I had to roast and then go back to work afterwards. So
Yeah.
it helped a little bit, but man, I was a basket case the week of that roast, or any time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just the pressure's got to be nuts. Like it's like, and the thing is when and this is like a thing like I've heard like Nikki Glazer talking about it, like probably on I think on Conan's podcast, where she's like, you let roast when people roast you and they talk to you a certain way, then anyone thinks they can talk to you any way they want. So when
Yeah.
you lose a roast in front of a bunch of people and then you got to stay in front of a bunch of those people, they can probably feel like, well, I'm better than him because he just publicly got shamed. Let me also throw in.
Yeah.
You're a little queer, and you're like, it's probably awful.
Yeah, no, I haven't experienced too much of that. Mostly just because a lot of the roasts are like they're typically like mostly comedians in the crowd. That's kind of what makes them so fun and so fucking rowdy. Is normal people would never be that rowdy, but
Right.
comedians will happily heckle each other at a roast if it's
right. Yeah, because it's just participation.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it way more fun. You know, shit
Right.
like the AIDS chant. Are you familiar with the AIDS chant?
I'm very familiar.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Little things like that make it so much fun.
How are they doing it virtually now? Like, I don't understand what that's going to be like. Do you know?
Actually, I gotta say, I feel like I've done like a few virtual shows so far. I think the roast is probably the best type of show to do virtually because you have to take turns, and the virtual like aspect of it doesn't fuck with the performance as much as it does with like a regular stand-up performance. You know, like at least with a roast, we each take turns, we roast each other, it goes back and forth, and I think it's gonna flow a lot better than trying to do like a stand-up set for 13 people on Zoom, you know, and waiting for their laughter and hoping to God it comes through, and it's not just they're hoping to God it's delayed and not just a unfunny joke. You know? But, so I think I'm really looking forward to this roast because I think of all the virtual shows you can do, I think this one will fit the best. I think it'll be the most fun and the easiest to do.
So I know that Delaware just opened back up like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I had already been in talks to go do some stand up in Delaware just because I'm missing it like crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm stressing about that too because I was actually planning a trip home in August. I'm from Virginia originally.
Okay.
So I was planning a trip home / like a little East Coast tour if I could. You know, I was just gonna reach out to as many spots as I could, and instead of just driving straight to Virginia, like try to hit a couple places along the way. You know. But then, you know, the whole world went to hell, so I stopped pursuing that. So I don't even know if it's worth, like, hitting the people back up again. Like, I'm not famous enough to have a poll, especially during the quarantine, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, the essentialness of the business of comedy club is so low on the priority list.
Yeah.
that you're gonna want to do it, sure, but
absolutely.
They're not gonna be able to sell shows. They're not gonna be able to put asses in seats.
Yeah, exactly. I've been wanting to do one of those shows. I've seen a couple of my friends do the drive-in shows.
Okay.
They have, like a big stage somewhere, and there's like 20 cars just parked in front of them, and people have their windows open. And if they like a joke, they honk. So it's like it's almost like when I'm listening.
I haven't seen that.
Dude, when I was listening to my friend, it almost sounds the same as like a stadium special, where it's like the comic kind of has to wait for the stadium to stop laughing to move on, but it's just that with like cars honking. You know, it's so weird. It sounds like they're being heckled by the cars, but they're not. It's just
this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Huh?
This is the first I'm hearing of it. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it looks super fun, but I mean, I don't know. I want stuff to be back to normal, but I don't think it's going to be back to normal for quite some time.
Now, can I ask you, did you get married during the quarantine?
I did, dude. Coronavirus actually canceled our wedding. I proposed in July of last year, and we were planning on getting married on March 28th or 29th, I think. And obviously that couldn't happen. But we actually ended up canceling way earlier in March we canceled around the same time Trump announced the travel ban because my wife is from Spain. Her whole family still lives in Spain. So basically said when there's no travelers from Europe anymore, we're not having a wedding with just my family awkwardly dancing to Spanish music. That would suck. So we're like, we got to cancel this now. And since she's an immigrant, like all of her paperwork heavily, is impacted by if she's married or not. So she's been here for 4 years already. We've known each other 3 or 4 years. She had a 3-year work visa. She had a renewal visa for 1 year. And then that was when I proposed to her. And so basically her lawyer was like, y'all can't put off the wedding because we've kind of already started your green card shit because you told us you were getting married. So we got married at the courthouse on March 12th instead.
So the courthouses were still open.
Yes, beginning of March, the government buildings were still open. My mom actually called it too. She was like, government buildings are going to close, so y'all should probably get this shit done quickly. And she was right. We did it like a day or two later with just a few friends there. My mom actually drove up too. We had a nice lunch afterwards. It was cute. And then after that, we had a government-mandated staycation honeymoon, and then it turned into marriage boot camp pretty quick. It was just, it's been a ride. I mean, there's nobody I'd rather be quarantined with. Obviously, it's still fun, but yeah, definitely, it's been crazy. But yeah, we got married on March 12th.
Wow, this is never going to be forgotten. It's absolutely going to be a timestamp on, like, absolute. This is what we're doing for the rest of our lives, knowing that we started the lifetime commitment during the most uncertain times in the world's history.
Yeah. We actually, it was so when we got married, we had the masks and we wrote on them. They said like "just married" and "love is contagious." That was my favorite one.
Oh, that's fun.
So that was it was a fun day. It was still a good day. It was literally like our last day in the city. The scary thing was that was March 12th, and then literally I caught a fever like the next day. I got a really high fever, and then I couldn't taste anything for like a week. And that was before we even knew that was a symptom. I didn't know that was a symptom. I was mostly just upset because I bought this really nice hazelnut coffee, and I was really pissed off I couldn't taste it. And I was like, what the fuck? This is the travesty right now.
So yeah, did you have COVID then?
I haven't been able. I've been sleeping on getting an antibody test. I need to get one soon. I'm like 90% sure I did at the beginning of March. Mostly just because we got it after being outside in public in a government building. A lot of fucking people around, and all the symptoms seem to be the same. So I need to get myself one of the fancy antibody tests and see what it says. But me and Peppa are 90% sure we got it in early March. She got sick shortly after I did, which is my fault. But
yeah, well, of course it is.
What are you gonna do? We're trapped in a box,
You can now. You may now smash face masks together with the bride.
For real, that's hilarious. That's what we should have done. That would be so funny. Dude, I felt bad because, dude, she still gives me shit because there's a video of us getting married, and, like, she's crying, and I should be crying, but the reason I'm not crying is because the lady who's doing our vows or whatever, the officiant, she's a government employee. This is like fast food of marriages. She just went to get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out.
Do you want fries?
Dude, exactly, dude. She's reading it super fast, but she also has this brutal accent that she's like, we are here today to join Stephen and Moia and Hoey Matwamoni. Like,
you
I
sound
swear to
just
God,
like Matt Maron right now.
Dude, it was worse than Matt Maron, dude. It was like Matt Maron times 10. And I'm like trying not to giggle because her legal name is Maria Jose. She goes by Peppa, but her legal name is Maria Jose. But the fucking lady, she kept calling her Moia. And it was just, I was trying not to giggle about it. Like, I didn't want to be an asshole, But, it's like, why are you laughing?
That's great.
Yeah, so it's pretty memorable.
I actually got last year, the year before that, I don't know. I got ordained to officiate weddings.
Nice.
So I'm an ordained minister. I wanted to offer it to people like, hey, maybe I can do some virtual officiating during this time. I don't know if I can or if I can't, but I've never done one yet. I just got it because I want to do it. I want to have that.
Yeah.
I favor myself as someone who's always universally at the service of others.
Right.
So
Okay.
if I can provide this service to people who are wanting to do this, and it's hard to find anybody to do it.
It is.
I'm
I
here.
think it might be hard because you have to sign paperwork as the efficient as well. So it's like it would be hard to do that if you weren't in the same room with them. That might be difficult.
Well, I mean, I could travel back in time and get a fax machine and then bring it back here with me.
Exactly. The only reason I know, I did the same thing you did. I got ordained because I was supposed to officiate my friend's wedding in May, which obviously that didn't happen. But I got ordained and everything late last year, and they sent like the pamphlet and everything of what you're supposed to say and what you're supposed to do. But that shit got canceled, so I got a little bit more time to memorize all the priest stuff.
Well, I don't think I got a packet that tells me what to do. I was just gonna wing it.
Oh really? I got a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to see if it's on my shelf somewhere. It came with a bunch of stuff. It was like the Universal Life Church, or something like that. Yeah. They sent me.
Remember.
I think it's because I made a small donation of like $20, and they sent me like a bunch of extra stuff. Like,
okay, yeah, I didn't get a bunch of stuff.
They sent me a parking pass that says minister on it.
Ooh.
So I'm like, yo, if I had a car, I would love that. I'm like, anytime my friends go grocery shopping, I'm like, let me bring that and just slap that on the window. We can park closer or whatever. But it did come with some fun stuff.
I have a car.
Nice. There you go.
And I'm a minister. I should try to get on there and get a minister parking tag.
Dude, donate $20 and they'll send you a bag of swag. I swear, it's worth the deal.
I'm very much. I'm not against it, but I'm pretty opposed to like parking in handicapped spots. Like those should go to people who need them. Like I'm
not gonna park in handicapped spots. I'm just hoping if I hang that minister tag, if I park like an asshole, people won't key my car. You know, they're like, oh, he's a minister. Better not. You know.
But some people are so anti religion. They'll think you're some religious clergy person, and they'll key your car anyway.
It would work against me. They'd be like, "Where's your God now?" You know.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Yeah. That's funny. Good thing I haven't hung up that minister pass yet. That's good.
Well, maybe you put it on your bicycle.
I do have a bicycle. That might be kind of fun.
There you go.
I could wear that while I'm delivering Postmates. See if anybody wants, some communion wafers or something with their Popeyes chicken.
Is that in the city? Well, you're still doing that during the quarantine, right? Is that like pretty decent funds? Is that
not at all? It's like
no, because I'm relating. I've been doing Uber Eats and it sucks. Like I'll get like $7 for the day.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And it's like I have a regular ass bike. I don't even have a motor on this thing. That's why I like the dudes that really do it. They have the motor so they can knock out like, couple orders an hour. I'm biking. Sometimes you got to bike far. It's like I might only level 1 or 2 orders an hour. And like you said, it's like $3 to $7 for an order. Like it really, really, and no one tips cash at the door. That kind of bugs me a little bit where I'm like, the tips on the app ain't doing anything, that doesn't pay the bills.
1%.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I've been telling people, it's like if you had a kid and you were like, oh, you got that summer job at McDonald's, that'll pay for college, right? That pays you, doesn't it? It's like, no, fucking throw me a little extra at the door just so I could buy some gum on my way out or something, Like it's just a little bit helps. That's all it is. It's more of a nice gesture than a monetary thing.
I gotta feed the meter to park my bike.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like,
give me just a handful of coins.
Yeah, even on a good day, it doesn't make that much money. The only reason I was doing it is because I had been in quarantine for like 2 months. And I was like, well, I hate this job, but I don't have another job right now, and I've been trapped inside. So let me bike around the city a little bit. And it's like, it was a little money, but like really like no money. I'm sure Uber Eats is the exact same thing.
Yeah. yeah, it's ridiculously frustrating, and like my car started being weird, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. I'm sick. I can't do it. I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah.
Right. So I'm just gonna just stay in and not just to stay safe, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. That's the smart thing. I've been applying for
Stay
jobs
safe,
online.
aka keep my car from breaking down.
Yeah, that's can't break your car if you ain't driving it. That's
Right.
that's logic.
Right.
I miss my car fiercely. I had a car in Virginia. That's how I started doing comedy. Was just driving
Mhm.
everywhere in Virginia to do comedy, and I hated it. I talked about how much of a piece of shit it was, and now I miss it immensely more than anything. Uh, I would love to have a car again, but the bike is kind of fun. The bike keeps my legs skinny, which is good.
I I I have an old car. I make fun of it all the time. I don't hate it. I very much appreciate it. I very much love it. I it's it's a 2008 Lancer, and
Nice.
and I call it 2000 late, and I say it's it was my brother's old car. Him and his boyfriend had this car together when they lived in North
Uh-huh.
Carolina, and my brother drove it up here, and I kind of I like finagled a way to buy it off of him, right?
Nice.
So I've been driving that, and it's like, well, they called it Jasmine, so I
Jasmine.
yeah. So the car is Princess Jasmine, and I, I got a little Rick and Morty magnets on the back. And that's all
Necessary.
I need.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. My Saturn, dude, I had a Saturn. I can't remember what year it was. It was probably like '02, '03 Saturn or something like that. But dude,
Yeah,
my
they
thing,
stopped making them. They stopped making them early in 2000s.
yeah, I don't remember what year it was, but dude, my car, it would do this thing, and I don't. Maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know why I ever didn't just get this paid to be fixed, but like it had a leak in the hood where it was like leaking like coolant or something like that. It wasn't like a major leak. The problem was if I was sitting in traffic, it would leak and it would hit hot pipes. So then it would evaporate. So basically, it's not on fire, but it looks like it's on fire because there's mad steam coming out of my hood all of a sudden because I'm sitting in traffic. And it got to the point that, like, of course, the first time it happened, it scared me until I realized what was happening. And then it started happening so frequently that it just got, like, annoying. Where I would just be, like, sitting in traffic on my phone, and somebody would honk at me, and I'd look up, and it looks like my whole hood is on fire. And I have to be like, it's fine, don't worry. Let me pull over on the side really quick and just let it cool down. That was the most frustrating thing. Was the only thing you can do is fill the coolant with water and then drive it to like a repair shop. So if I didn't have any water, I just had to fucking sit there and wait for it to stop smoking and then drive home and hope the traffic had cleared up by then. It
Well,
was God, it was awful.
the traffic's not nearly as bad in Virginia
No,
as it is where you currently live, I'm sure.
no, for sure. But there was the problem with Virginia. I lived in a place near Norfolk. There's the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, and it's HRBT, and it's notorious for being an absolute like garbage public service of a bridge. It's like a bridge and a tunnel, and half the time one of the lanes is closed, and you just never know what you're gonna get. So you always got to leave early if you're going to the Virginia Beach Funny Bone. That was the routine. But I miss driving, man. I miss driving. I like the city, but I miss driving.
I mean, something about New York that I could never like something there was something about it that it's just there's an like of course there's an energy to New York and a hustle and bustle kind of thing. But
Right?
sometimes it's like too much toxic, like people are so full of rage and anger and frustration. I just it vibrates through me and I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can feel people's frustration with being like like they're just sort of autopilot through an unhealthy relationship with themselves.
Yeah.
and and I'm encountering 20 of them at any given second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um and then, you know, I think I've gotten approached by 10 billion homeless folk.
Oh yeah. That's probably the most annoying one. The last time I drove in the city, I actually drove. I had to move. I moved from like deep in Brooklyn to the tippy top of Manhattan. We're at 200 Dykeman now, but basically it was like a two. I thought it was gonna be like an hour drive. It ended up being like a 2.5 hour drive in this budget truck full of all of our stuff. And the thing that messed me up about New York was you can't take like big trucks like that on the highway. And I didn't realize that. And so, because my GPS kept trying to put me on the highway because it doesn't know I'm in a truck. So basically, I couldn't get on the highway. And then I had to just sit in traffic with everybody else and just go block by block for 200 blocks in a big ass U-Haul. And then on top of not just the traffic being sucky, I have 3 cats with me in the front seat that are losing their shit because they don't like driving.
Right.
Cats are territorial. You take them out of their space, they're not happy. So
well, cats are notoriously bad drivers too. They think Asian people have it the worst, but no, cats. They're the worst.
Cats are the worst. They're worst backseat drivers too. They're meowing at me the entire time I was trying to get up there, and I just felt bad because it was literally like me in the budget truck, and then my wife and the 2 dudes that were helping us move took an Uber up there, and they beat me by like an hour. They were just sitting up there doing nothing for an hour. And of course, I'm like a ball of stress trying to get up there. And as soon as I get up there, I got to keep working. I got to keep unpacking the truck. There's no hour break.
Yeah, your friend's got a little hour break, and not you.
Yeah, exactly. I told her, I was like, buy him lunch or something because I'm gonna be ready to hit the floor by the time we get up there.
I for sure think that's part of it. Part of the energy in New York that weirds me out is everyone has that stress. Everyone has that ball of stress. It comes from traffic, comes from everything being so expensive. It's like, how do I eat something? And everyone is in that. How do I eat something? Like, oh, I got $2 in my pocket. What can I have? Nothing. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. And you feel it. You definitely feel it. This city will drive you up a wall. I'm typically pretty relentlessly optimistic. So I think that's how I've survived so long, is just being optimistic to the point of being naive too. Of like, just, it'll probably all work out. I'm the main character of my story. Why wouldn't this work out?
You're not the man on fire.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not homeless yet. I got a bike and 3 cats. I'm doing okay. I think that's all I need in life.
Well, I mean, you're very grateful. I see the gratitude. Very grateful for what you have, and that is definitely the way to be. You know what I mean? That's the way to make sure that you're not continuously a ball of stress. And it's
I'm still a ball of stress. I get tense. I get loud. I'm like, it's so funny because a lot of people know me as like a positive dude, but dude, like, my wife knows me as a dude that'll fucking scream at iTunes when it's not working for me. Like that's me at home. I let it out here because I don't want anybody else to see the psycho in me.
Marin was like, "Oh yeah, you're up against this kid Steven," and then he was like, "Yeah, he's the long-haired kind of hippie," and I'm like, "Me then."
Yeah.
Me
as
then.
soon as I saw your picture, I'm like, I guess look like jokes are out of the equation.
Right.
This one, it's just gonna be back and forth the same shit. It is. Although I do appreciate the fact that we look the same, because I feel like that's one reason I don't really mind being mean at roasts. Is typically I've heard everything about me. I feel like you can make a lot of fun of my appearance. I know you can make a lot of fun of my appearance because I've done these roasts.
Right.
I don't even have to fucking say anything for them to roast me. They'll just roast, my hair, my shirt, facial hair, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped feeling bad. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be mean. Now it's my turn. I always said that I like roasts because even before I was watching like comedy roast battles, like in high school and college, I was watching rap battles like on YouTube.
Right, yeah.
I always loved rap
King
battles.
of the Dot.
King of the Dot, URL, Don't Flop, all that shit, like all the leaks. I always loved that anytime they did a battle, 90% of the time when the battle ended, and those dudes are saying vicious, mean, horrific shit to each other for way longer amounts of time. Not even funny. They're just being horrific to each other. And then afterwards, after every single one, they dap each other up, and they're like, "How'd you write those 16s? That was tight." You know, like
did you watch Yo Mama on MTV?
I've seen Yo Mama before. I was not like a religious watcher. I've definitely seen Yo Mama before.
We did a sketch years ago. This isn't on YouTube anywhere. I don't think. I think most of the sketches we did were probably offensive. Sorry, we took most of them down. But we did a sketch where it was a Yo Mama episode of a special episode of Yo Mama that was taking place on Mother's Day in the cemetery where everybody's moms were dead.
Oh God.
And all of it was your mom's so dead this. Your mom's so dead that. Like that was the sketch. And my best friend went to this 7-Eleven every single day, and he talked to the guy from 7-Eleven into playing Wilder Valderrama's character because he was like Fez in the 70s show. So the guy from 7-Eleven pretended like he was the host of the Yo Mama. It's Mother's Day. All these fuckers' mothers are dead.
That's funny.
It was bad.
No, my mom hates my roast. My mom won't watch them. She doesn't like them. She's like, that's not the sweet little boy I raised. I don't know why you're being so mean to each other. I'm like, 'cause it's fun. That's what we do, you know? Like, I remember one of the hypest I've ever been for a show was a roast in Virginia Beach at the Funny Bone. And there were two people going up. One of them was a girl that I didn't really know. And she was talking mad shit. She was like, I'm going to fucking beat everybody here. I'm the shit. I'm going to do great. And then she's going up against my boy Jack, who I hadn't seen in like years, but I remember him being a good comedian. And so they go up. She bombs her first round like bad, like barely gets off one joke. And then Jack comes back, and these weren't his jokes, but his whole set was basically like, you're fucking fat. Bam! Your whole family's fat. Bam! You're a piece of shit. Bam! Just like nailing joke after joke after joke, just relentlessly. And I was on the second floor. I was on the second floor of the Funny Bone, like literally like a sporting event, going like, "That's how you do it! That's how you do it!" Like I was screaming. I was so hyped. It's like I was expecting him to do well, but I was not expecting him to fucking crush so hard out of the gate. Like they were the first fight, and people were dying already, dude. Like it's just so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, ours is like chronologically, it's like 3 days from now.
Yeah, it's I can't remember.
I think it's
June
9th.
9th. Yeah.
So
we got
Tuesday.
a few days. Do you remember what the format is? Because I was gonna write jokes, but I can't remember how many jokes we gotta write.
I think it's either 3 or 5. I think it's 5.
Okay, that's perfect. Because
Yeah.
I love that. I always love Fight Club because it's always not that many jokes. Like I used to love roasting at New York Comedy Club, but it's like 3 rounds, and it's like basically like a 15 joke minimum, like
Right.
that you got to be walking in with, like 15 bare minimum. Like they plan on most of the fights going for 3 rounds, so you better have 15, and that's so many, dude. Like that's a lot of fucking roast jokes about one person. And
Right. It was tough. When I did the one at Lucky Jack's, I think the guy, his name was like Nikolai or something.
Nikola Pavlovic?
Yeah.
And social media hipster.
And I wrote like 5 jokes or something. I forget, maybe more. I don't know. But he was so used to that format. He's a killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
there's absolutely no way I was walking away from that. But I mean, I got pops for my jokes, but like, I got pops for my jokes. Everybody liked the shit, but it was like, when it was over, this guy was their favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's hard. You're going up against somebody on the council, you know, somebody who's been there for forever, you know?
Right.
Dude, years ago, me and Nikola had one of my favorite battles ever. We had a compliment battle.
Oh, I wanted to do one of those.
Because he was saying he's too nice and that he didn't really want to roast yet. And I was like, you are very nice, but I also think I'm very nice. We could do a compliment battle instead. Because I saw the same thing in a rap battle of two rap battlers just viciously complimenting each other. And it was
Yes. Yeah. I
really,
love that. It
really.
was like this. I tried to do it. I tried to do it at the one around here. Like it was a it was a roast battle, but it was like you didn't get the right jokes about the person. Like you just had to get up there and see them and then roast them,
That's
like
hard. Yeah.
off their appearance. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go up here and I'm gonna do some compliments and see how
Yeah.
it goes. And it was like it was kind of not that good. And then the guy was like the guy was like, you know what you look like? You look like Johnny Depp gave fashion advice to Aquaman. And I was like, cool. Are you complimenting me too? What's happening?
That's a good compliment, dude. I like that. That's
I was
not
like,
bad.
I'll take. Yeah, I think he was trying to roast me. I'm like, that didn't hurt my feelings at all.
Dude, I remember, I'm trying to remember, Nikola had some really funny ones. I think the joke I had that hit the hardest was Nikola once went 5 years without having sex, and then he turned 6.
Yeah.
And then that was probably the best. He had one that I fucking loved. What did he say? I was with my first girlfriend at the time. She was Asian, and he said something. He just went, Steven has an Asian girlfriend. High five. He goes, also, you got to give it up to her for dating someone that looks like his grandparents blew up her grandparents in a cave when they were building railroads.
Oh man, that's vicious.
Bro, it was so vicious. It was so funny. But yeah, roasting's probably one of the most fun things you could do with comedy.
Yeah, I'm I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I guess I still have to write some stuff.
Hey, you got any questions? I'm an open book.
Well, I mean, I don't want to misuse my podcasting.
Nah, man,
so,
this is perfect.
but what I normally do is I ask like on the podcast. So not like what I'm doing for the roast, but for the podcast, the question is like, did you grow up with both parents? Do you have any siblings?
I have
parents
a couple.
Still together?
Yes, I have my parents split when I was in high school. I have one biological sister, and I have 2 stepsisters and a stepbrother. They all my family, my mom and dad live in Virginia. My siblings and step siblings are all over the place. But it was a good, happy household for the most part. You know, my mom was a pilot. She just retired in November. She flew for the Navy, and then she flew commercially for United Airlines for a little while, a couple decades. And then my dad was an elementary school principal, so that's who I grew up with. Mom was always gone because she was, on flight. Not always gone, that makes her sound like an absent mom, but just like the nature of her work, the nature of an airline pilot, she'll be gone for 4 or 5 days, back for a week, gone for a
she
couple
was
days,
very
back for a
flighty.
week. Huh?
She was very flighty.
She was very flighty all over the place. I was like, I could never tell where she was. People thought I was like a shitty son because they're like, "Where's your mom?" I'm like, I don't know, fucking Dubai, Japan, who knows? I'm like, I really can't keep track anymore, man. Like, she's all over the place.
That's great.
Yeah, but
your dad bring the principal, like, disciplinarian sort of household?
No, my mom was the disciplinarian. That was the
Okay.
nice thing, was that the hammer was gone usually on a weekly basis. And Dad was the cool one. Dad was the one that'll make chicken nuggets and everything for dinner. And then he left that at school. You know what I mean? He had enough fun disciplining kids at his own school that when he got home, he just wanted to chill.
Yeah.
So he was always super super cool to be around. I remember he basically let me get away with smoking in high school. That was his cool dad move. There was one time my stepmom went into my car. I can't remember why, but she found a bunch of empty boxes of cigarettes because I didn't want to throw it in the kitchen trash can, obviously. Right. So she went and told my dad, and I found this out from my sister later. My sister told me all this later because she was in the room. Mm-hmm. She said my stepmom went to my dad and said, Steven has a bunch of empty boxes of cigarettes in his car. And my dad said, what kind of cigarettes were they? And she said they were Cools. And my dad apparently went, Oh, I used to smoke those in college. So he wasn't mad. And the funniest shit was when he talked to me about it, he basically blackmailed me into walking the dog every night because he knew I needed to be outside. So he was like, I'm not walking the dog anymore. I won't tell your mom, but you better fucking take the dog out from now on because I know
He's
you
like,
want to be outside.
and just so you know, cool spelled with a C, okay?
Not my cigarettes. Not my favorite brand of cigarettes. KOOL. A nice little green box. I love them. I loved them. I was very, very brand loyal. Also, dude, it was Virginia, so it's like my nice cigarettes were like $4.45. They were not expensive.
You didn't smoke Virginia Slims?
Nah, I didn't need no Virginia Slims.
Not in
I'm good in
Virginia?
Virginia.
The
Maybe
the
up here
home
I
place
smoked
of
them,
Virginia.
but nah, I liked my cools. I don't know what about them, but I like the cools, and now I think I just like menthol because then I moved up here and I started smoking Newports because I started smoking Lucy's,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only cigarette you can get as a Lucy is the cheap Newports.
Mm-hmm.
So I acquired a taste for those, and now anytime
Are
I
you
bump
still
a
a smoker?
I'm off and on. I'm bad. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I should be less. I have been a little bit since quarantine started, just because it's been so goddamn boring, man. Like it's just a way to pass the time. Before quarantine, I was doing really good. I was like a couple months without having a cigarette, and then now it's like every couple of days or every other day. So
I don't mean to brag or anything, but I've never taken up smoking. I've always been like a semi-pro athlete.
yeah, no, that's good.
So I don't want to die in
Yeah,
the middle of those things, but I can understand like uh, I was like I'll like smoke weed every once in a while, but as far as smoking cigarettes, especially like Newports, gross.
you feel them
Gross.
going down. They're a man
But
cigarette.
like
That shit
they
is.
make your fingers all stinky all the time, and you're like that's the main turnoff. The
Yeah,
main turnoff
that's
is
the
the
worst part.
stinkiness of it.
Dude, that was the funniest shit. Was one of the first times my now wife, my then girlfriend, caught me smoking again. Was I thought I cleaned up really well. I fucking came home, I changed my shirt, I chewed some gum. I thought I was covering my tracks really well, and then we started fooling around. Things are getting hot and heavy, and I put my fingers in her mouth, and she yanked it out of her mouth. She goes, "You smoked, didn't you?" And I was like, "Damn it!" And it's like totally killed the mood, yo. I thought I was being so
Note to
slick.
self: stop sticking fingers in mouth.
Yeah. Yo, that shit that got me good. But no, I'm the opposite of you, dude. I was a big fat kid for a while, so just I was eating McDonald's every day. I might as well put McDonald's in my lungs too.
Right.
So
Okay.
I started smoking right at 18. Never affected me because I was never doing any
Smoking
kind of
French
physical
fries.
activity. Yeah, oh, dude, I probably would. Yeah. I was never doing any physical activity. The most physical activity I got on a regular basis was like walking from the door of my car to the door of the building I was going to. That's the most exercise I was getting back then.
So the main way you like lost the big bulk of weight was you got sick once, and then
Yes, I actually I lost a lot of weight. I moved because I was probably like 220 or 230 when I moved to the city, and then literally walking every day for about 6 months, melted about 15. And just as I saw that, I got food poisoning, and then I lost another 15 in like a week. It was really bad. It was we should have gone to the hospital. I can't believe we didn't, but we lost 15 in a week, and then that put me under 200 for the first time since like middle school, you know. So that was the first time I was like, oh, I got to see the other side. I was like, I want to stay here.
you
So
want to
then
continue to be under 200.
yeah, continue to be under 200 and fit.
Right.
I actually ended up getting all the way down to like 160. That was just from like running and going to the gym all the time. And then I was working at a gym at the time, so that was easy to keep up with. And then once I stopped working at the gym, I slacked off a little bit more. I think I'm close. I'm more in like the 180 range right now. I used to be like 170 muscle. That shit was nice. Like when you lose a bunch of weight and then you put on weight, but you're not gaining. You're not gaining fat. You're just putting on muscle. That was a good feeling. And then now it's like 180, mostly fat. But we're working on it. our home workout game has been super strong like since the last month. It took us about 2 months of quarantining to figure out home workouts, but me and my wife have figured them out. Like we got the yoga mat and we kind of have a routine that we like. We do it on a pretty regular basis, 4 or 5 days a week. So I've been telling people I'm not trying to go back to school fat in the fall. When everything opens back up, I want to fucking look at least the same as I did when I went into quarantine.
Right. It's gonna be like time travel. I've been calling everything time travel. I can't stop doing it. Like I was at my girlfriend's. She's like, I gotta run some errands. You want to come with me? And I was like, no, I'll just stay here and time travel, aka take a nap till you get back.
Yeah.
That's time travel.
Like. Time travel. I like that. I've done the same thing. I'm like, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about weed. I'm like, weed is a time suck. I'm like, I'll just smoke a joint and then it'll be 2 hours later before I know it.
Yeah.
A movie, something.
We kind of had the at home workout stuff figured out. Almost like, my girlfriend has a trainer at her gym that she's still Zooming with, like almost every day.
Yeah.
But my neighbor across the street who has the puppies that I play with, he has a gym in his basement. So I just go down and work out. Like he has weights and like a treadmill in his basement. And I just go down there.
That's awesome.
So that's what I was doing before. I think when I like first got in shape, like the most in shape I had ever gotten, it was say probably like 2011 was the first time I went over 200 pounds.
Okay.
I had never gotten over 200 pounds. And then I was like 215 in like 2011 when I was working out with Steve in his basement across the street. And then I had this big seizure. I had this big seizure and I had to take off of everything so it was, the brain surgery that Matt Maron had?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not the whole procedure, but I know he had a brain surgery. Yeah.
Yeah. I had the same surgery in 2011.
Wow.
But mine was up here. I don't know if you see.
What was it? Was it like just years of abuse?
You see my head kind of droops a little bit right here?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like, it's in utero. It's like something when you're a baby and when you're developing in your mom's womb. It's called an AVM, an arterial venous malformation. So I was born with malformed veins in my brain.
Oh damn. Okay.
And I guess all that strenuous stuff, all that working out that I had been doing, like I was working out till I would throw up. Like that would be like how hard I'd push myself.
Yeah.
And that around then I was like, all right, well, it was a Thursday. And I know I had a show that night in Reading. Okay. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna take a shower. And then Rick's gonna come pick me up and we're gonna go to the show. Normally on Thursdays, I was living with my mom at the time. Normally she's not in the house. My sister's not in the house, and I go in the bathroom. I turn the Bluetooth speaker on. I lock the door. This day they happened to be home. I didn't turn the speaker on. I didn't lock the door. While I was in the shower, my vessel started bleeding out into my skull, and I had a seizure. It fell out of the shower and broke the toilet.
Oh my God!
While the shower curtain wrapped itself around my face.
Yo.
And my mom saved my life that day. And
yeah, that's scary as hell. Fuck that, dude.
So I had to have a big old brain surgery 3 weeks later. 3 weeks later, so we got to like wait till the swelling went down, and they did a craniotomy.
Okay.
So they cut me from ear to ear, right across the top of my head.
Oh.
And they did they pulled my face off. They peeled my face down, and they resectioned the veins, and then put a little plate in my skull, and then put then stapled my head back on.
God damn.
So yeah, I had a crown of staples in my head for
That's
for a couple
intense.
weeks.
Man, that's insane. I can't handle that, dude. Like my wife loves like the botched surgery shows. You know what I mean? There's a couple, and
Oh,
like I can't stay.
can't stomach it.
Even just
Yeah.
hearing you talk about it, just it literally reminds me of Hannibal Lecter feeding that dude his own brain, like in one of the movies. It's too much for me, man. Like her mom's a surgeon, so like they don't give a shit about it, you know.
Yeah,
Like
they're
they
kind of
you know.
desensitized to that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like I hate it. I'm like I don't want to hear this at all. This is disgusting.
Well,
That's
maybe I'm giving you fuel for your writing jokes about my
yeah. I've been
for roast
jotting down.
jokes.
I've been jotting down little notes, just
Okay.
anything worth remembering. Because my memory is awful. I got stoner brain like badly, you know. um, I am happy we're having this conversation though. I've always said like when I was roasted, like back in the day when everything was still open, if I didn't know who I was roasting, I would usually try to link up with them for like lunch or something, you know, because it's way more fun to roast like a person than it is to roast their profile picture, you know,
Right,
like.
right.
I'm like, I would rather know you and at least kind of get a vibe before I even start writing, you know, like
I
figure
think
out what I want to talk about.
I think I'm pretty limited about what I put out, like on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Because mostly it's just jokes. Like I'll put out jokes or whatever, but nothing's really about my life. My podcast is more my life, and it's like it takes such an effort to really dive into this. It's like, oh, do you got 2 hours to spend to figure out what could be go? Like I think I probably told a lot of these same stories. I've told them in some form or fashion over the years, and a lot of times I kind of like try to glaze over it because people might have heard it too many times.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, I agree. I've done the same thing. If I couldn't link up with the person, I'll try to find a podcast that they're on. I did that with Daniel Parafan one time. I didn't know him that well at the time, and I was just like, well, I know he's on Mad Podcast, so we'll just listen to those, and that kind of helps, you know.
who was that?
Daniel Parafan.
Okay.
He's a city guy. He's really funny.
Okay, cool.
But he's been doing the roasts for a long time too. Since Fight Club was at Lovecraft. But he's fun to roast because he's got a lot of history and background. I'm like, I gotta listen to podcasts. You know, I gotta pick out and see what I want to talk about. But it is fun. I did the lunch thing a couple times. It's backfired on me before, where like I get all talkative and excited, and then realize I didn't.
And then you give up everything. You give up too much information. Yeah.
Exactly. They know every embarrassing thing about me, and then I leave. I'm like, I don't even know if they have a sibling. Like, I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun, and also 5 jokes is not that bad. You know, like 5 jokes, you can whip up 5 jokes. The problem, you know what the problem with writing 5 roast jokes is I usually have to write 25 roast jokes and pick the 5 that are worth the shit. You know, maybe not even hilarious, but they're the best ones.
Right. That's kind of how I feel like I'm probably going to do it. I'll probably like make a list. I think the last time, not the last time, but I think the first one I did for a Comedy Fight Club, I was like on the phone with Harry Turjanian, and I was like, listen to these jokes. Tell me what you think. Tell me if they're funny, like that kind of stuff. But I've evolved past that, I hope, where I don't have to seek approval. But of course, that's part of what we do. We seek approval. We love validation.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, I've said that to my mom before. My mom said some shit that was hilarious. Like, it should have made me mad, but it didn't, because I can't remember what we were talking about. But at one point, she literally said something like, "Well, you know, you're the type of person that needs a lot of approval." And I feel like most people would be upset. Like, no, I'm not. I'm an independent person. Blah, blah, blah.
People are too proud to admit it.
No, I wasn't too. I was just kind of like, yeah, I've been doing stand up, so people fucking approve
Right.
of me all night.
What I'm saying,
night, you know?
your average civilian would be too proud to look into themselves and go, yeah. Because they would be like, no, don't you say that. I know everything I need to know, and you can't tell me anything I don't already know about myself. Fuck you.
Exactly. Well, also the problem was it was my mom. So I'm like, your mom knows you. You know, that's the problem. Your mom knows you pretty well typically. But yeah, the roasts are fun. I always say the roasts are most fun because it's the only place. Not only can you get a laugh, you can get a oh, and I like when you can make the whole crowd go oh, like something.
I used to do it in my wrestling promos all the time.
Yeah, I bet.
In my wrestling promos, I'd be like, hey lady, why are you here? You're a bad mom. Take your kids home. They don't need to see that. Like, it was a whole lot. Like, I just find a thing, and I'd be like, well, after this match, I'm gonna be your new dad. That's all. Like, whatever. Like, I'd be like, well, one thing you need to know about this wrestler, he's got no dad. You know what? After the match and I beat you, I'll be your dad if that's what you need.
The shit talking in wrestling is so fun. I was actually gonna mention. I think it's funny how I got into wrestling because I never watched it as a kid, but I got into it like as an adult, which I always say I feel like that's almost like someone who is never religious as a kid all of a sudden being converted to Jehovah's Witness as an adult. It's like it seems impossible, but I got into it because after I went to college for 2 years and I dropped out, and then when I moved into my apartment, my first apartment after college, my roommate would smoke me out all the time. He was making more money. So, you know, courtesy, you're going to watch whatever he wants to watch because he's smoking you out. Every Monday, it was Raw. Every Thursday, it was SmackDown. And we just started watching it every week. I started watching it every week. And I remember like 2 or 3 weeks. It didn't even take that long. It was like 2 or 3 weeks in, I caught myself screaming at the TV. Like, I remember going, he threw Randy Orton. Nobody throws Randy Orton. Like, freaking out about it. I was like, oh, I guess I'm really into wrestling now, dude. I'm into it. I liked it. It was really fun to watch.
I think that there's a level of, like, people thinking maybe because you're a wrestling fan that you're stupid and that you don't know that it's a work. Of course you know it's a work. Anybody who's a fan of it recognizes that it is what it is. They recognize it for what it is. And I try to say to any of my comedian friends who don't appreciate wrestling, and even my girlfriend, she hates wrestling. Well, I would say, understand it's a craft, just like comedy's a craft. It's like chipping away at a stone. You get better and better. You learn each time you're out there, and the risks are way greater than stand up on stage and telling some jokes.
Yeah, dude. The reason I got into it was my roommate at the time. He graduated college, but he was a theater major with a specialized or like a concentration in stage combat. So like that's his shit, you know, is the fake hurting each other. You know, he had licenses to use like knives and guns on stage and stuff like that. But he knew what the wrestlers were doing like on a theatrical, you know, stage combat level. So like he would explain that stuff to me, like how do you fake that? Aren't they hurt? It's like, well, yeah, they're hurt, but they're not hurt that bad because of this, and that. You know, like they're doing little subtle things to keep themselves safe.
People don't realize, the people who are just watching it and have never been in there or touched a ring. It's funny because they never even say it out loud. Most people have not touched a ring, not once. Most people have not been punched the way wrestlers punch, let alone punched the way anyone punches. No one's been punched in the face. So they're speaking from a completely ignorant place. Those punches hurt.
Yeah.
A lot of us we have a lot of pride in what we're doing. And we want to protect the work of the business.
Yeah.
So we commit to keeping it snug. So I know if someone clocks me, they're sorry. And if I know I clock somebody, I know I'm sorry. I'm not trying to injure them, but I'm just trying to make it so it's the best for everyone.
Right.
And if I hit you so weak you can't sell it, then I suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you hit me too weak for me to be able to feel it and sell it, you suck.
Yeah.
So the competition of wrestling is we want to be a better showman than the person we're in there with. But it's all a team. We're all working together in this, and that's what I love in comedy, because it's like you're not going to get the same match twice in wrestling, the same way you're not going to get the same exact comedic perspective at a mic or a showcase, you know?
Right. I always call wrestling, it's testosterone theater. That's what it is. It's like, you see how much money they pour into Broadway. It's probably the same amount of money that they pour into WWE, with just as much rehearsal time, just as much going on behind the scenes and everything. It's a lot of money, and so it's got to look perfect and be perfect. So of course it's scripted to an extent. Of course they kind of know what's going to happen, but they're also having fun, and their fucking abs look amazing.
Well, I think I've been saying this about abs all the time recently. My neighbor who I lived with, he's like, "Babe, this gut's never going away." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Who's it gonna go away for? You're not taking your shirt off for anybody. You're not a bodybuilder. You're not." I was like, "You're not an underwear model. Relax. You don't need abs. People who have abs are miserable most of the time."
They are. They absolutely are.
So go with what you got. Go with what you got. Don't beat yourself up for having something that's almost like when you have it, you're unhappy because you can't have what you want. You get to have what you want. Like,
yeah.
Not everybody has to be like a jack person. Like, you just be happy with what you got. Appreciate everything you've got. Like,
yeah, same. I feel the same way. I've given up on the idea of abs. I just want better pecs. That's why I've been working out at home. I need well-defined pecs. You know what? I was joking the other day. I was most proud of my armpits because they're deep. If I flex and pull them forward, they're like deep. And being a former fat guy, I thought your armpit was just where your side fat met your arm fat. And all of a sudden now it's like topography. Now I got lats and it's deep and it's crazy to me.
But you're the only one who has that exact perspective. You're the only one who knows you, who knows to feel this way about yourself because you've experienced being the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like you're the only one who knows exactly how that feels, how you can tell yourself that and feel that way. I mean, of course, other people can maybe relate to it.
Right.
Maybe other people can have a similar thought, but like they weren't exactly what you are and are not doing exactly what you do. Like you brought up the I'm the star of the movie of my life or whatever.
Yeah. I'm the main character of my story. Yeah.
I was saying that when I was 7 years old. I was saying that when I was 7 years old because I thought, looking at my eyes, I was like, how come I can't see me? Like I can see everybody. I was like, I'm the star of this program. How come I don't get to see? And then I was equated it to casting the movie that is my life, and keeping around the people who would make the best story, who would help me grow through this journey. And the journey is, I for some reason thought that through my eyesight, my perspective was the TV screen for some alien life form.
Yes.
So, man, make it entertaining. Like,
yeah.
Maybe teach them something they didn't know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I don't think I was performing for aliens, but I had very similar thought process.
Well, I mean, I think probably at the time I thought it was God. I thought it was like angels on a cloud. Because
dead relatives.
Maybe. I had I was in Catholic school at the time, I think. Like, I was in Catholic school until 3rd grade, I think.
Yeah. First
grade again, 2nd grade.
Nice.
And 3rd grade. And, it was all a part of, like, figuring it out. And, my mom wasn't ridiculously Catholic, but Like, we lived with our grandmother, and she was ridiculously Catholic.
Yeah, the grandmothers always are, dude.
Yeah.
I got my actually my grandfather was a chaplain, right? That's what
He
they
was an
call both.
ordained minister from
Yes,
Universal Life
ordained
Church.
minister with the Life Universal Church. I was actually baptized by my grandpa when I was a baby. But my aunt is actually still a pastor. She's a pastor in a church. And I remember one time, accidentally, I made her mad. I wasn't trying to make her mad. I just thought it was a cute question because we were talking about how what she does and what I do is kind of similar, just talking to large groups of people, you know. And I asked her if she had ever bombed, and she got kind of upset by that question because I didn't think she realized my. I was like, dude, I bomb on a fucking weekly, nightly basis. You know, I'm not judging. I'm just asking if it happens. And she said she got defensive because she said the only time she ever said she bombed was at somebody's funeral. And she said really didn't know the person that well. It was just like a congregation member. She said her notes were all messed up, and I was like, ooh, that sounds way worse than bombing some dick jokes, man. That's brutal.
Oh, and no one's. What kind of heckles do you think you get at a funeral where you're bombing? Like,
dude, you won't even. It's just like you don't even get heckled. You just like hear people crying more. Like since there's no sound of your voice to fill up the room anymore. Like you're just shuffling through your notes and just hearing people cry, and you know you're not helping that much. You know.
like, your name isn't Grace, and this isn't amazing. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that shit was funny. But she's doing all her church services on YouTube now, which I think is hilarious.
Okay.
Watching on YouTube.
Do you want to plug it? Do you? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I should,
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You don't plug it. I'm just kidding.
I should know the name of her church though, and I feel bad about that. I should. It's something I should know. All right. Oh, next time, I'm gonna plug her virtual church.
On like right when quarantine started in the beginning of March, everything was closing down, but I had one comedy date on my calendar. I had one show, and I was like, everything's closing down. I wonder if this is happening. And it was just at some brewery. So it was like,
right.
It was like mostly other comedians. And it was just as it started. And like some people were like wearing masks and some people were staying far, not touching. I get it. But like, I got to experience like the very genesis of it. Yeah. But that was the last time I got to do comedy. And you made me think of it just now because I did a bit, and I had only done this bit the one time, just that time, where I was like, what do you call your mom's sister? I called that out to the crowd, and somebody went, aunt, and I was like, okay. And I was like, I asked like every single one of the people, and the one guy said aunt, and I was like, what? Why do you do that? Like, I forget exactly what it was, but I went into this whole bit about the difference between people who call their aunt and people who call their aunt their aunt.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what the payoff for it was, but it was just something you just reminded me of it. And it was like, for sure, the last comedy thing I was able to do before everything shut itself down.
Yeah, dude, you know what's funny? Before we got shut down, I can't remember my last date, but something I definitely did the last time I did stand up. Dude, before everything shut down, I was literally working on like a killer, like 5 to 7 minutes about how I thought coronavirus was overhyped bullshit and it wasn't going to do anything. That's what I thought at the time. I was very wrong, obviously. I didn't quite comprehend all the facts at the time. But basically, my whole bit was just like shitting on coronavirus and like saying that it's some pussy shit and nothing's going to happen and everybody's freaking out for no reason.
And here it is. You had it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was very wrong. Basically, dude, my whole fucking point, basically, I think it was working. I was basically saying what people wanted to hear, like putting their mind at ease a little bit about it because I was saying I thought it was overhyped bullshit because I don't trust the news, period, anymore, ever. So when the news started freaking out about coronavirus, I said, of course the news is freaking out about coronavirus because news stations are all like fucking. They just. It's like, fuck. I'm sorry. I'm fucking up my own joke. It's been 2 months now.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I just fucked up mine, so it's fine.
No, the whole thing is that
there's no consequence to fucking up your joke.
Word. That's true.
Like
that's true.
when
sure.
when I would fuck up a spot in wrestling, I could get hurt. Somebody could then hit me as hard as they fucking wanted to, and I would just have to go, okay, yeah, I fucked up. I deserve that. I deserve getting hit hard. Like me and my old roommate used to say, because he was doing comedy with me a couple years ago. Like when he started wrestling with me, like back in the early 2000s, and he was like, we both would say the consequences to fucking up and bombing are nowhere near as great as they used to be. When we were kids and we'd bomb, somebody would fuck us up.
Yeah.
No one's fucking us up now.
Did you see the Peanut Butter Falcon?
No.
It's a really cute movie with Shia LaBeouf and one other kid. I can't remember his name, but basically like Shia LaBeouf it's like it takes place in the South. It's got very Ozark vibes. But Shia LaBeouf is basically someone who's down on his luck and hitchhiking and shit like that. And he runs into this kid who's a runaway, and this kid really wants to be a wrestler. So Shia LaBeouf tries to like take him to this wrestling school, and they're like hiking all through Florida trying to find this wrestling school. It's a really good, cute movie. I really liked it. I think if you like wrestling, you would like it.
I'm also a huge fan of Shia LaBeouf.
Me too.
I've always had a connection with Shia LaBeouf, and like when I saw Honey Boy, the movie that he wrote, did you see that?
I wanted to see that. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude. It was making me cry and stuff. Like it was definitely like I wish I could have wrote something like this. I wish I could, because he was playing his dad.
Yeah.
Like he was playing, and he was saying in that to the kid stuff my dad would actually say to me when I was a kid. Stuff that I thought like as an adult looking back on, like, well, that was pretty fucking abusive.
Yeah.
Like I figured out that some of the shit his dad was saying to him was exactly the abusive shit my dad would say to me when I was 12. And I'm like, well, oh wow, okay. And it tugged at them heartstrings.
Yeah, but, all right. I gotta watch that movie.
So Shia LaBeouf would be a dream get for me on the podcast.
I feel like he'd do it, man. Shia LaBeouf is a cool, down-to-earth dude, and I feel like you shoot an email to his agent, he might have time for it. You know, certainly nobody's shooting shit anymore, so he's got nothing but time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's a pie in the sky. But, man, I what's that movie called? The movie with the wrestling?
Peanut Butter Falcon. I think that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's called Peanut Butter Falcon. I
want to see if it's like streaming on anything.
I think it is. I think the Peanut Butter Falcon. Me and Peppa have the Fire Stick, the Amazon Fire Stick, so we watched it on that.
Okay. Well,
it's very good though.
2019. Okay. I'm gonna check it right out.
Yeah.
Probably today.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, me and my girlfriend went through through this quarantine, we watched like every Shia LaBeouf thing. Like,
oh, really?
I didn't do it. I didn't do it the whole way through, but she marathoned all the way through, even Stevens.
Nice.
I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. But I mean, I have a little sister who's only a couple years younger than you. So I'm a little too old. I'm a little too old for even Stevens, but I watched it with Jess. I mean, I'm 36, so I wasn't the key age.
Right. You're not the key demographic for that.
No, not the key demographic. I mean, I think Shia LaBeouf and I might be around the same age. I don't know, but I think that in the show, this is what I always thought was cool. he was like, my comedy heroes, and he would say all of who my comedy heroes were. He would talk about Jim Carrey, and he would talk about Chris Farley, and he would talk about Adam Sandler, and he would act crazy, and I would act crazy. So I felt like we had a kinship.
Yeah.
But also, like, I know that the story with Shia LaBeouf was that, like, when he was going to get the part of what the heck was his name on that show?
It's Malcolm, right?
No.
No, even see. I'm sorry, I'm thinking the wrong thing.
I'm trying to remember his name on that show. Lewis Stevens.
Yes.
When he was going to get the role, he like auditioned for it. And they went to call him back, and when he answered the phone, he acted like he was his agent, getting the information, like, and he like backdoored his way into that part.
That's cool.
And like his mom was his agent or something. It was some little neat thing that inspired me. And then I think when I was 17, I auditioned to be in Holes with Shia LaBeouf.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Obviously, I didn't get it, but
that's okay. That would have been a brutal set to be an extra on, just in the heat all day.
Yeah. I read for, you know the part where the kid like rips the letter out of his hand. He's like, nobody cares about you anyway, and then like throws the letter away. I read for that part. There was actually more stuff in the book with that character, where that character was crying on the side of the bed, and I was supposed to do a thing like with that. I was supposed to be crying on the side of the bed, admitting to Shia LaBeouf's character that he don't know how to read.
Yeah, I remember.
But it wound up they in the movie they combined that story with the Zero character, where they had to teach the Zero character how to read.
I remember. I got a friend. Hey, hi, PT. This is Petita.
Hello.
Hey, hi, Petita. It's funny because her name is Petita, but we call her Fisi, which sounds like feces.
Yes, it does.
But it's a Spanish thing. They don't think it sounds like poop. She's not poop. No, she's not.
Kaka the cat.
Yeah. She's the smallest out of all of them, but she's loud.
So did you want to ask me any questions?
Not really. I think I've been learning about your life and hearing your stories, and I don't think I had any burning questions. You go to college at all?
Nope.
Fair
no.
Enough. You live in, where did you say you live right now?
I live in the Philly suburbs.
Philly suburbs. Okay, gotcha. With your girlfriend?
I have roommates. My girlfriend spends a lot of time here, but she lives in her own place.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Any fun wrestling stories that stand out to you? I'm sure you probably have dozens.
So many. It's hard to even pinpoint one. I mean, so
your wrestling name is Corey Castle, right?
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, that isn't my name given to me by my family. No. That's not my birth name.
Corey Castle. It's a cool name. I like it.
Thank you. My real name's James.
Oh, really? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I never would have known that. I would have assumed that. Thought your real name was Cornelius.
No. That's just something I made up for marketing purposes and stuff.
Smart. I like it. James Corey Castle. Got it. And you do wrestling full time or?
No. It's like being in a cover band, except for you get less respect.
Fair enough.
It's like, I'll go drive to Delaware or Maryland or somewhere, and I'll get my gas covered, and that's it.
Right. That makes sense. It's the same with comedy, yo. You know
paying
that.
Dues. Yeah, it's the same shit, except for I don't have to take my clothes off, and I don't have to get punched in my face. That's what I like about wrestling or about comedy. What's that?
What do you do for work then? I'm unemployed right now because of the fucking pandemic.
Same.
You? Gotcha.
Same.
All right.
Well, before the pandemic, for the last 6 months, the last 5-6 months, I just been going on movie sets and films, TV sets and stuff, like doing background work for the last like 6 months, couple shows a week.
Nice.
But I mean, I haven't been doing it now because everything's closed down. But before that, I was a pharmacy tech at a pharma call center.
Okay, that's cool. Perfect. That works. I think I got plenty. That should be good, especially because it's only 5 jokes. I'm so happy it's only 5 jokes. I'm so relieved because I got tired of doing the 13, 15 joke roasts. 5 jokes we can handle. We can knock it out in 3, or we can knock it out in 5 jokes. I mean.
Yeah. So the virtual comedy is, I haven't done it yet. Have you done like open mics for it?
I haven't done any virtual open mics. I've done a few like Instagram shows and Zoom shows, and I found what works best is like, I haven't done any of the shows. I've been wanting to do the shows where it's like there's like 20 people watching at the same time. I'm usually more like on Instagram where there's only 2 people that you could see, and then there's like a little tally counter of like there might be 20 people watching, but you can't hear them. So I've always found that the virtual comedy thing worked better for me when it was more of like an interview show. So like whoever's hosting it will ask you questions, and then hopefully that will set you up to tell some jokes. But then I've also done it where like literally it was just the host on the top half of my screen, like not saying shit and just looking at me like, what you got. And that threw me off because I was expecting questions, but then he was silent for too long. I'm like, oh, I guess I just got to keep on going, It
feels cringy. Like it feels and that's I'm thinking about that for Tuesday. It's like, I don't know if it's going to be real super awkward. Like I know.
Do they do it on Zoom or Instagram? Do you know?
No idea.
I need to check their page and see if they have any replays and see what it's gonna look like.
Right.
We do our roasts. I think they do have. I think it's probably not going to be a bunch of people, but it's probably going to be us, maybe a few council members from Fight Club, and the judges. So at least we'll have like probably a little less than 10 people at least being able to react to our jokes and laugh and stuff. So that'll be good. I laugh too. I laugh hard. I love jokes about myself. So if they're good, I'm gonna laugh. I like good roast jokes.
Well, I did one like virtual roasting thing. I did the Eli's podcast recently. It was him and Zach Amico, and we did roast jokes, but like it was awkward. Like it just felt awkward. Like when you're in the studio at Eli's podcast, there's tons of people there and everybody's laughing. But like when it's through this, it's like, okay, I just made Zach and Eli chuckle, which I mean,
that's a murder in a real room. That's a kill in a real room.
But it's like
you gotta adjust your expectations.
It's like I just made 2 friends who chuckle at me anyway chuckle a little bit.
There you go. That'll do, man. You got to work with what you got.
I got this big old hole in me. This validation hole, this big like attention seeking look at me hole. And I have said a bunch of times that comes from some sort of damage. And I usually ask friends who come hang with me, like wrestlers or comedians or people who are like public figures, what's your damage? What caused that hole?
I don't have any specific pinpointed memory of needing to fill that hole. You know what I mean? I think it probably came from being a little fat kid in elementary school. I liked making people laugh. I still remember the first laugh I got. That was significant to me. The first time I made my whole class laugh, that was a pretty defining moment. And that's kind of why I just kept trying to be funny and, have fun with everybody. My first laugh was in first grade. I think I had I just gotten surgery on my hand. So my arm was like in a sling, like in a cast. And the teacher said, like, put up your right hand if blah, 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 blah. And my right hand was in a cast, but I was just like, I raised the whole thing. And for some reason, everybody in the class thought that was really funny. And I was like, that was great. I liked hearing 20 people laugh at the one thing I did. That was awesome. So I don't have any big defining damage moments, Like I was fat and unfuckable for a while.
There it is. There it is. Yeah. Dude, humor and wit is a defense mechanism for people who are defensive. And I'm sure you were very defensive. You were looking out to be attacked all the time. And I have to imagine it was like, well, as long as I make fun of me first, as long as I make you laugh at something, you can't then attack me for being the presentation you see in front of you.
Yes, exactly. And that hand gesture was perfect because I was shaped like a basketball back then. It's not good. But yeah, that's probably a big part of it. And then I knew I wanted to be on stage for the rest of my life. That moment I do know was in my junior year of high school. I actually did our talent show, and I was in a garage band at the time, and we were playing, but I also wanted to beatbox. I'm a big beatboxer. I really like doing it, and I started in high school. And they said, you can't do 2 acts because that's weird, but you can open the show with beatboxing, like as an opening to the whole show, and then we'll start the show. So, like, your beatboxing won't be judged, but you'll be able to do it as part of the show. And I'm like,
oh, it'll be judged.
Yeah, no, dude, that's all I wanted, man. That's all I wanted. I got on stage. It was the biggest crowd I had seen ever. It was like it was over 500 kids in this auditorium, and I'm the opener. So I walk out, no announcement, no nothing, and then I do this beatbox routine that's like a minute and a half long, and immediately walk off stage. I fucking crushed. I had like 500 kids in the palm of my hand with these beats. I had everybody go, hey, hey. And then I ended super abruptly, and I walked off stage. I got a standing ovation. And that was the moment. I was just soaking that shit up behind the wall. Like, I had never felt so good before. I literally said it was the same emotional high that I got when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior when I was 13. And then 3 years later, I found out I could get that same emotional high from beatboxing for an audience. So it was up there, dude. It was so intense. It was so fun. And then that same show, at the end of the show, when the judges were tallying, it took them longer to tally. The audience started going, beatbox, beatbox, beatbox. And I was freaking out because I was so new. I had basically just done all my beatbox material. I had nothing else, I didn't know what to do. So I taught them how to beatbox. And you teach people to beatbox. You can also teach the little kids to beatbox using the words pretty kitty. Say pretty kitty. Say it pretty kitty, pretty kitty, pretty kitty. You bring out the P's, the T's, and the K's. So it sounds like pretty kitty, pretty kitty, pretty kitty. And then you got... So I got 500 kids doing that at me, and that was really fun. And then for the rest of the school year, I had kids walking up to me going, pretty kitty, pretty kitty. And that was the defining moment of, like, I have to be on stage for the rest of my life. 100%.
Do you say pretty kitty to the caca cat?
Yeah, I call her pretty all the time, dude. That's my pretty kitty. I'm looking at her right now. She's beautiful. That was definitely the moment I knew I had to be on stage for the rest of my life. That was the moment I was like, this is my shit. This is what I want to do. And then I discovered stand-up a few years later, and that was like
that part sounds like the feel-good moment in like a movie about a kid who felt unequal, like felt like an outcast, to be able to do that. And it was like, oh, I'm automatically accepted by 500 people.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it was like I wasn't like an outcast or nothing. I was in band, so I was just like a big band geek, So like that was really the only people I knew was like the band kids. And then after that, dude, it was like everybody knew me all of a sudden.
Mm.
And then that kind of what you're talking about. Like all of a sudden everybody knew who I was and they thought it was cool. And that was a really good feeling. It was like all I had to do was fucking beatbox for 2 minutes. That's all I had to do. Like it was easy on my end.
On Tuesday this week, timestamp one more time. Everything is closed down.
Yes.
Tuesday this week, it was election day. I went to the elementary school where I vote every time, and I was walking out with my brother, and there's a sign up that said talent show sign-ups now, and I was like, you know what? I'd crush those elementary kids at a talent show right now.
Yeah, hell yeah, you would.
I didn't have talent as a child at all.
Yo, me either. It took till high school until anything useful started happening. And then we played, dude. When I played with our garage band, it was so fun. It was just 3 of us. We just did like an instrumental rock track, and I have the long hair, obviously. I headbanged so hard during the song, and that also got a huge response. Like, I thought it was weird we were doing it. I thought we should do a cover of a song that like everybody would know, so at least it would be popular. We ended up doing like an original instrumental of some shit that just rocked hard, you know. And as soon as I started headbanging, it was like the same standing ovation I got from beatboxing. Like people just ate it up, you know. So that was definitely. I'm like, I don't know what I need to do on stage, but I need to be on stage for the rest of my life. This is the stuff I've been looking for. There's nothing that feels nearly as fulfilling as all that approval being washed over me, you know?
So you've also been a long-haired boy since high school like myself?
Yes, I have. Like, dude, we're a rare breed, dude. I'm surprised to hear that. That's awesome. I've had this hair. It's about down to here. I keep it like just above the elbow, basically. But yeah, since about sophomore year in high school. Yeah, it's been about that long.
Yeah, I've had my girlfriend actually tweeted this. She's a comedian too. She tweeted this and quoting me by saying, "I've had long hair since the Clinton administration."
Nice, yo. Definitely, dude.
My hair is usually like right here.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm like, everybody I talked to is like, well, I used to have hair like that.
Right.
And, I grew up. And I was like, fuck you, yo. I'm fucking keeping this as long as I can.
But, a lot of times people have because that's their way of rationalizing exactly who they are now. I think a lot of people say this to me all the time. They're like, oh, I used to this, I used to that. Like people go, oh, I used to go to the gym all the time and I worked out all the time. I look just like you. And they do some sort like, oh, I used to have sick abs. Okay, well, now you don't. What,
sorry, man.
Like, oh, I used to have hair like yours. Well, I don't think you did. I don't think you ever had hair like mine. I don't think you ever looked like me. Like you can think you looked good, and if you're calling me good, I'll accept the compliment, but I don't think you looked like me. I'm not putting you down, and I'm not I'm not being arrogant, but it's like you're just justifying to yourself the decisions you've made.
Right.
And of course they're your own decisions. And yes, you have to have them. Go ahead. People it's like sometimes weaving around the judgment of others. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people judge themselves so harshly that they have to justify not having what you have by saying that it's this thing's fault or that thing's fault, or just refusing accountability.
Right.
And
yeah, definitely, dude.
I mean, my hair is my thing. It's definitely. I wouldn't be the same if I didn't have it. And
we are in the same boat, dude. I always say we're like Samson. I'm like, I don't know what I would do, man. I'm like, I would get over it, but dude, I would be absolutely devastated. I have a Samson joke that's great, but no one remembers how that story ends in the Bible. Where I say, if everybody says, "What would you do if I cut your hair off?" I'm sure you get that all the time. They go, "What would you do if I cut your hair off?" I said, I'm like Samson. If you cut off all my hair, I would be devastated. I would cry, and then I would bury you under a building.
Right.
That's what Samson did. People forget that's what he did. He got locked up, and he was chained to 2 pillars, and then he got all that hair strength that he thought he needed from the hair, but it was inside of him the whole time. Yay! And he fucking rips down the columns, and the whole building fell down and killed everybody. People forget that's how the story of Samson ends.
Wow.
Metal. The Bible's pretty metal sometimes. Dude.
I was just telling my girl. Do you remember John Mulaney's first special, like his first album?
I think so. Yeah.
It was called the Top Part. It was just an album. I don't think it was filmed. It was just an album.
I might not listen to that one. I definitely watched the first filmed one, but I don't remember the top part.
It was called the Top Part, and I was telling her why it was called the Top Part because he told a joke about King Solomon in the Bible.
Yes, yeah, I remember that joke.
And he was like, 2 women went to King Solomon with a baby.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is my baby. No, it's my baby. And he's like, I got this. I'll cut it in half. And the first lady was like, no, don't cut it in half. He was like, oh yeah, since you said don't cut it in half, you must be the real mother. And like the other lady was like, hey, whatever, I'll just take the top part.
Yeah.
Cut it in half, sure, whatever.
I remember that joke. Yeah. I love that joke.
That stupid ass Bible.
Bible's, dude, the Old Testament is metal. The Old Testament is super metal, man. There's all sorts of crazy shit in there. But
I was doing this bit. I don't know. I mean, it got mixed reactions, but it should have killed. It should have killed, but it didn't. Where I was saying, I was working this job where I missed the staff meeting. Like I was too late for work that day and I missed the staff meeting. And when I came in, I was like, said to the guy whose desk is next to mine, can you fill me in on what happened in the staff meeting? He said, nothing really important, but we all learned that Linda, she's an idiot. And I was like, okay, why is Linda an idiot? And he was like, she was talking, she was going off on a rant. And in her rant, she thought Tarzan was a real person.
That's funny.
I was like, yeah, I guess she's pretty idiotic. You're right. And he's like, that's not the worst part. Here goes. She was then talking about Adam and Eve, and she was getting all the facts wrong. And I was like, wait a minute, facts? So
facts on Adam and Eve?
So Tarzan being real is a stupid idea, but Adam and Eve being real and the facts.
Yeah.
I think which one of us is an idiot out of the two of us?
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. So, I mess with the wording every time. I got to figure out how to do it better, but I for sure now I haven't done it in a little while. It's been a couple months since I've done that joke, but I'm when I get back to comedy, I'll try it again. But at the same time, people aren't ready to hear about the Bible. Some people still are really, really heels dug in on all that stuff. It was like, I believe in God and I understand the spirituality and all that, but I understand that these are stories to structure society. Like it's not necessarily not,
verbatim.
For lack of a better term, it's not gospel.
Yeah. That's funny. I like that.
It's like
that's funny. Yeah. I miss going to church. Kinda. I went to church for 16 years of my life, like every Sunday. I was helping with the ushers. I was setting up chairs. I was in a church praise band for a little while. I played electric bass for the church praise band, and that was fun. That was like, it didn't pay, but it was like a cool gig. Like every weekend, I'm playing in front of like like 300 people. We had a big church,
Mm-hmm.
so it was playing in front of like 300 people every weekend. And so even around the time I stopped believing in some of it, I was still like, I want to play bass still in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
kept going, which was fun. But I came up in a Methodist church, which is like, I always say Methodists are like the most chill denomination like ever. There's no rules about pork. There's no confessionals. There's no saints. It's like, just go to church once a week and you're good. That's your obligation as a Methodist. That's all you got to do. Just once a week, go in the morning and you're good. That's all. That's it. And then you can have a potluck lunch afterwards. It's delicious. It's awesome. And I do think it's crazy, all the churches and stuff that had to get shut down because of coronavirus. And then all the dickhead pastors that were saying, like, we got God on our side. Come to church anyway. And then fucking everybody got sick. That shit infuriated me.
I have a story I've been telling on stage, but I haven't told it on this podcast, I don't think.
Okay.
Hopefully no one's listening. We'll see. But I had on the podcast a guy who is one of the head writers for Ellen.
Oh, cool. Okay.
One of the head writers for Ellen, right?
Yeah.
For her talk show.
Yeah.
Great guy. Liked him a lot. I really enjoyed him. I'm not going to call him out by name, but I had him on the show.
Okay.
And and he was telling me he was still currently a Lutheran Christian. Right?
Okay.
And I said, in your religion, what do you think of gay marriage? And he said, it's not real. Like, so if you're gay and you're married, you're still going to hell. Your marriage didn't count. Whatever. You're whatever. Then, and I was like, so you're saying that Lutheran Christians treat gay marriage the way 90% of people think pro wrestling. They go, it's not real. Like, you know that's fake, right?
They can do it all they want, but it's not real.
It just ain't real.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, dude. That's crazy.
I was like,
for Ellen.
Yeah, I was shrugged at that too. Like, I mean, that says a lot to the acceptance and the kind nature of Ellen. Like,
yeah.
she's already like accepted that she's not going to be tolerated by everybody, and she's not going to be accepted by everybody, and she's not going to have to care about that stuff because she's already in the winner circle. She's already Ellen.
She's in the winner circle, but I've heard a lot more stuff recently about how Ellen has a mean streak that a lot of people don't like talking about, and now more people are starting to talk about how she's kind of a give me my caramel macchiato 75-degree latte behind the scenes, you know, like that she can be kind of a meanie.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know if any of it's true. I'm just saying I've been a long time in quarantine. That's just what I heard on some YouTube videos.
I've kind of heard whispers of this, but I say the same thing about a lot of people. Okay, you've been famous since before. She's been famous since before you were born.
Word.
Remember John Mulaney did the thing about Mick Jagger? Diet Coke, and then a Diet Coke shows up. It's just like you learned it. You've been programmed this way because that's what you can get away with.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like that makes her an awful person. It's just that if anyone could demand something and it shows up, everyone would do it.
Right.
But not everyone has the influence, and not everyone has the adoration.
Yeah.
That Mick Jagger's been playing to sold out crowds for 50 years. People were chanting his name. Of course he's that way. Of course you'd think that Ellen might be that way. I mean, you just gotta accept people for who they are, and it's not.
And it's more of like a product of your environment thing than a personality thing, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if I ever get famous one day, I hope that it happens, but I'm gonna go ahead and treat everybody like shit. I mean, why not? I mean, if I can, sure, let me do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see what I can get away with.
We'll see. We'll find out. You know, I feel like it would totally go to my head. If I won the lottery, it would go to my fucking head. You know, let alone earning it. Like, I would be so excited.
Well, I'm very big on the fact, honestly, like I just want to be able to help everybody, help anybody and everybody, and the way that my brain goes to it is like, I want everyone to feel like they've got a voice and they can be heard. Instead, like you feel the way that you feel, you deserve to feel that way. Everybody deserves to feel heard and seen and loved unconditionally and accepted. Right. And it's just, if I can use my voice in that way, if I actually, get famous one day and get a lot of people listening to the show, like I say, everything I'm doing feeds the other thing. Mm-hmm. So my work on film and TV, that I meet people, they come do the podcast. Yeah. I go do comedy. It fills the pot. You know what I mean? It feeds the podcast. I get to meet people in comedy, and it feeds the podcast. The podcast then feeds the acting and whatever. You know what I mean? And if I get a bigger role in something, I'm gonna go do tours of comedy clubs, and it'll feed the podcast. Everything comes back into the same little circle, and if I can find that in me, then absolutely you deserve to find that in you. And that's not specific to you, but that's specific to anybody. It's general. You know what I mean? Right. Everybody can find what their things are. Because a lot of times you don't know what you want until what you want is looking right in your face.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a wrestler. I knew I wanted to be a comedian, and I wanted to be a wrestler. I didn't know I wanted to be a podcaster. That didn't exist yet. So what you want now versus what you might want in 20 years, because totally technology and new developments happen every day.
Right.
So as soon as you like dig your heels in and go, well, this is as good as it's ever going to get, then that's as far as it's going to go. You got to be open and willing, not only to accept that things are going to change probably a little bit of the worst sometimes in some struggles. You have to appreciate that in that same way, some of the good stuff's going to happen too. Like you're going to experience a whole lot of good, but you're going to have to sift through a lot of that bad shit, because once the bad stuff happens, you can't be a victim to those bad things. If you become a victim to those bad things, you're wasting all these right nows on right nows that already happened, and you'll never get back.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It's good philosophy. Oh God, I might need to get some lunch in me soon. I feel like I'm about to pass out. I'm gonna ask you two more things. And then we're going to ride off into the sunset, if that's cool with you. That's perfect. That's perfect with me.
Okay. All right. So I've mentioned it many times in here. Time capsule, the moment we're in, all of this. You're still young. You're 28?
27. Yeah.
Okay, 27. So in all of this 27-year-old version of Stephen is going to have a direct message to either 37-year-old Stephen or the possible children, family, loved ones of the people who went, you know what, I really want to know what Stephen was like when he was 27 years old. For me, I say this is my favorite the favorite version of me I've ever been.
Yeah.
So this version of you speaking to either the version of you 10 years from now or the family or loved ones who have sought out this conversation. So this is what I'm calling audio time travel. You're not speaking to 2020 version of Stephen or his loved ones. You're speaking to 2030.
Okay.
2030
All
Stephen
right.
or Stephen.
Well, if we've all made it that far, I'm very glad about that. 2020's been a rough year. If you don't remember 10 years ago, 2020 started pretty rough. So if we made it to 2030, that's a good start. I'm happy about that. Like I said, optimistic. Um, what do I want to tell myself or my family members? Um, um, God, I hope you figured it out at some point in the next 10 years, man. Because we're running out of money here right now. We're gonna get a dog soon. We better have a dog that's goddamn near 9 years old by now, because I want to get a dog soon, but I can't swing it right now. So I'm hoping there's a dog listening to this too. Um, what else is going on? I'm sorry. I'm confused by the prompt. I'm audio traveling 10 years into the future to tell my future self and my future family members stuff.
Or so
Okay.
I don't say the yourself. I say that somebody who really is researching you and wants to find out who you really are.
Got you. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like that. I trying to figure out who I am. I still have some videos on YouTube of when I was fat Steven, like back in 2011 doing some comedy. But there's tons of YouTube clips. Stand up is hard. I don't regret moving to the city. I've been here since 2014. I was hoping I would have been touring by now, so hopefully that happens sometime soon. We'll see what happens in my trajectory in the next 10 years. What is real Steven all about? Not cutting his hair. If I cut my hair in the next 10 years, 27-year-old Steven's going to be disappointed in 37-year-old Steven if I got to watch this tape with shorter hair than this fat ass bun that's sitting on my head right now.
Yeah, I will. Anytime anyone has long hair and they cut it, I call them a sellout, no matter what.
Yeah.
Don't sell out.
I agree. I'm like, that's the quiet. I'm like, I don't want to shame anybody, but low key, I'm definitely judging a little bit. I will settle for the hair being shaved if I have some like dream 37-year-old body where, like I said, I've given up on abs, but if I got good pecs and good arms, I think I'll settle for the hair getting cut if my body's rocking by 37.
Well, I mean, I look at it also like I would actually, if I had to cut my hair, it would be selling out because I'm an actor, and if I had a part that had to, that was paying me to do it, I guess I'd have to. But
yeah,
for the most part,
same. I'm like, I would hope it's for a lot of money, and yeah, I can't see myself cutting it. It's just always been something I really liked. I always really liked it. I can't see myself getting rid of it unless I always said I might get rid of it if I have a kid, just because I typically don't respect dudes with long hair, and I don't expect my kid to either. So that's
here's my mentality on that.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I don't either. I think that most guys can't pull it off. I think most times, like I said, when I was telling you earlier about how people were like, "Oh, I used to have hair just like yours," or "I did that," and I'm like, "No, you didn't. You don't pull this off the way I pull this off." Like, not to be cocky or anything, but it's like, yeah, I mean,
you would have kept it if you could.
Right. If you could pull it off the way I pull it off, you wouldn't have lost it.
Yeah, word. Also,
right.
I'm actually just now thinking, I'm like, at 37, I might be just lusting after this hair. I might start balding by then. I don't even know. I have pretty good genetics in my family. My dad's like 64 and he still has a great head of hair. So I'm hoping that doesn't skip me. Well, I'm hoping I get that gene.
I mean, I'm almost 37 and I still have pretty great hair.
You're still rocking, dude. You still got a good hairline and everything. I've actually heard you've probably heard this before too, is apparently putting your hair in a bun or a ponytail is supposed to like damage the hair in the back of your head or make it go bald quicker. I don't know if that's true, but it makes me scared sometimes when I think about it.
That's just something fake news is trying to scare you with. It's just
I hope
bullshit.
so. I hope you're right. I definitely hope you're right.
The same way I think that like mermaids don't exist.
Yeah. That's true. Mermaids don't exist, and our hair will be fucking perfect until the day we die. I think that's everything I want to tell myself in the future. What 27-year-old Stephen was really about. He was really about making parody videos, being crude, swearing a lot. I need to stop swearing so much, but it's still part of my vernacular. And I'm kind of hoping I'm smoking less weed by the time I'm 37. That's a big part of 27-year-old Steven's life, whether it be socially or just by myself. I'm hoping I can cut back on that by the time I'm 37. I've basically stopped drinking since quarantine started, which is good because the only drinking I was doing was like at comedy shows. So now it's, I'm just home all day. I'm very content to just chill and smoke in the evening and go to bed. I think that's pretty good. What do you think?
I think it's great, man. There's, I'm not gonna. You know what? That stunk. That stunk. I've heard better.
Throw it over. I'm gonna ask the question again. You try to get all those stupid thoughts into one paragraph.
You know how you said a whole bunch of stuff. It was all dumb, and we got to go back and try it again. Take two. No, I'm kidding. But I usually wrap up the show. This is the way we wrap up every single time. When I say, hypothetically, I've gifted you this podcast. Okay. So in this hypothetical situation, the show is now evolving with Stephen Bolles. Right?
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
So this has been the pilot episode, the very first episode of Stephen's new podcast. And in a very Jerry Springer's final thought sort of way, to wrap it up in like what this is all meant and what we can learn from it and what we can take from it and help us evolve. How would you wrap it up?
I think if we learn anything this podcast, it's that if you are still rocking the long hair, don't get discouraged. And clean it well and treat it well. Treat it like a living pet. You gotta take care of it, and don't become one of the jaded people that grills dudes with long hair because I used to have it like No, nobody likes that. Nobody wants to hear that right now. I think if I can give any of my genetic code away, that would be it. Just keep the hair. Don't burn it. Don't dye it. That's the big thing. You know that. Don't burn it. Don't dye it. Just tie it up sometimes. And stay fabulous.
Love it. I love it. Well, I think I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Anytime anyone's given me the time and effort, I feel like that's in tremendous currency, and I really appreciate you spending that currency on me today.
Of course, dude. I had fun. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you putting all this together and doing the whole thing.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait. I can't wait till we get to hang in real life.
Yeah, me too, man.
This is just the start, dude. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the start of our friendship, and I'm excited to see where it goes. We'll evolve this, and maybe next year we'll do another one of these. I like to have repeat guests, so
yeah.
I would love for you to come back on, and dude, I respect you, and I had a lot of fun talking to you today. I really appreciate
it, man. I want to go to one of your matches when everything opens up again, dude. I'll be your crazy fan in the stadium or whatever, the skeleton stadium,
We'll see if I come back.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm gonna see you live at some point. I'm gonna be excited for it. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Maybe you can just have ambiguous laughter at a comedy show that I'm at.
Yeah, dude, it's not gonna be ambiguous. front row, loud, obnoxious.
I appreciate it, man. Well, I'll see you in a couple days.
All right,
Thanks so much
sounds
for your
good,
time.
man. I will
right.
see you then.
Thanks a lot, dude. Keep
All right,
evolving.
later, man.
Bye.